everyone, Chris here from Seaflow. I'm just sitting in the gym that I train at, which is ISA Health in South Australia. And I'm waiting to teach the kids class, which will be beginning in about 20 minutes. So I thought it might be a good opportunity to do a quick video for the jiu-jitsu parents or the prospective jiu-jitsu parents out there. So yeah, hopefully you can find some value in this video. So the first thing, and I think the most important thing, is that your kid wants to come to jiu-jitsu and they're happy when they leave. So what does that mean? What it means is your kid has to want to come, okay? Particularly if they're learning something that's really challenging. The only way that you're going to pick that stuff up is if you're engaged and you want to be there. So if you're forcing your kid to come to jiu-jitsu classes and then you're expecting them to understand the intricacies and the ins and outs of jiu-jitsu technique and concepts and context, that's not realistic. It's a challenging thing to do for adults. A lot of adults can't wrap their head around jiu-jitsu, and that's completely fine because it's extremely challenging. But if you come into it and expect a kid to be able to do those things without the emotional regulation and the maturity and the experience that an adult has, you're going to be disappointed. The main thing that you can do for your kids, especially the younger they are, is make sure that they're excited to go to jiu-jitsu, they have a good time at jiu-jitsu, and they leave happy so they want to come back. Like I said, I don't have kids, but I teach kids, and it's very, very clear. You can tell the kids which are being forced to come and the kids that want to be there. All right, so if you force your kid to come to jiu-jitsu, yes, they will come. They have to. They're a kid. You're going to put them in the car, that you're going to bring them here, but they choose whether they download the information that's taught at class, whether it's a productive lesson. All right. Kids, again, I'm talking to parents here like I have kids, but you guys will have all understood that you try and make a kid do something they don't want to do, it's going to be a shit show. All right. And jiu-jitsu is no exception. This is an extremely technical and challenging martial art. And as I was saying, it's something that adults find challenging to wrap their head around. If you're expecting your kid to come in here and completely understand technique straight away and all the intricacies, you're going to be disappointed. So the first thing that you should be making sure that you're doing is making sure your kid is engaged in coming to training. They want to come, and when they leave, they're having a good time. Enjoyment will keep them in the gym. Them being in the gym consistently will then lead to technical progress and more understanding. If they don't want to be here, it's a losing battle from the start. So the first thing that all parents should emphasize on is making sure that their child comes to jiu-jitsu happy, they have a good time at jiu-jitsu, and they leave happy. All right, that's going to ensure that you don't have these battles trying to force them to go to training, and it's a productive thing for them, because as I was saying earlier, they'll go whether if you make them go. The difference is how much are they taking on while they're at the class, when they're in a mind state of dad or mum made me come here and I didn't want to be here, so screw it all, I'm just going to mess around and I'm not going to pay attention. All right, it's very, very clear which kids want to be here and which kids don't. If you're forcing your kids to come against their own will and they're not having a good time, they're not going to learn anywhere near as much as the kids that are having a great time. On the topic of kids progression and what you should be looking for, a lot of people expect their kid to come in and start moving around like a little jiu-jitsu savant within 6 months. As I was saying, it's extremely challenging. What you should be looking for from your child, especially if they're young, is nice movement patterns. Are they moving like a little jiu-jitsu athlete or grappler? Are they moving their body in the correct ways? Are they looking for dominant positions like the backpack, mount, side control? These types of things, all right? That's what we should be looking for. Again, if you're hanging your kid's hat on how well they understand how to sweep someone, or what the intricacies of different types of guards and different types of side control escapes and stuff like that, it's going to be really challenging. But what you can do is teach them fundamental movements in jiu-jitsu, fundamental concepts, get them to look for really fundamental, powerful positions like the back, mount, side control, knee ride. Teach them things like they have to stay on their feet, and if they're on the ground, they need to get back to their feet. These things will put them in way better stead than judging them based off of technical ability on super complex techniques. All right, so yes, ideally we would love our kids and our students to get to a position where they're not only understanding what they need to do, but why they need to do it and why it's working. But that's going to take time, and like I said, for a child it might take more time than for an adult. So give them the time and the grace to slowly work this stuff out, and judge them more on their application and their effort, not the finishing product, because as I was saying, this is an extremely challenging martial arts for adults. To think that a kid is just going to come in here without the emotional regulation, without the context, and without the understanding of it all as a big picture is not realistic. So that would be the second biggest thing, other than making sure that your child is having a good time and is happy, is not holding them to this unrealistic standard that you probably don't even hold yourself to, especially if you're a parent who doesn't train. Something on the topic of parents who don't train, it's going to be really, really tempting for you to tell your kid what they should be doing, telling them they should be trying harder and stuff like that. But unless you've been on the mat and you've experienced what it's like, you're not really in a position to be telling them what they should or shouldn't be doing. And even if you're a parent watching and you do train while your kid's being taught at a kids class, you're not in a position to be coaching from the sidelines either. If your kid's on the mat, leave the coaching up to the jiu-jitsu coaches. There could be things they're asking your kid to do specifically. There could be a specific type of rule set they're working within. Do not be cornering or coaching from the sides. If you are a jiu-jitsu parent, you do train and you're kind of curious about some practices, or you would like your kid to work on specific things, ask the coach at the end of the class or another time. But do not be giving your child this conflicting scenario where they have to choose whether they're listening to their coach or their parent, all right? Because that's not going to help them either. And the final thing is, if you aren't training, or if you are training, do this stuff with your kid at home. So even if you aren't training, ask the coach at the end of the class, hey, are any of these drills is there something here I could do with my child at home or on the weekends or anything like that to get them more engaged and to have it more fun, have their parent engaged in the activity as well. Your kid's going to have way more fun if they can do it with mum or dad or their brothers or sisters. So if you're a parent who doesn't train and you're not quite sure how to implement those drills at home or what drills would be even beneficial at home, make sure you're hitting up the coach after the class, send them a text, call them, whatever you need to do, and ask them, hey, what are some good drills I can do at home with my little girl or my little boy, which is fundamentally sound and also will make them have fun at home, and have this be an activity that they can now share with their parent, as opposed that they're there just doing it for their parent. Remember, it's challenging. I can't stress this enough. Jiu-jitsu is a super tough hobby, endeavor, pursuit, sport, whatever it is to you. It's challenging, all right? Understanding that for your kids is super important. Coming from a place of empathy and wanting them to get better is way, way more important than expecting them to be top tier straight away. It's a challenging pursuit. Give them the time to get good at it, understand that it's challenging, and encourage them. And again, making sure they're enjoying their training. They'll still probably come if you force them to come if they're not enjoying it, but they're not going to be taking in any of the information. And at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu is an arms race. It's about having software as well as hardware. Software as in like the technical knowledge and the ability to make the right choices. You only get that through exposure at training. And if you're sad and you don't like training, you're not going to come and you're not going to have that exposure to make those correct choices. So if your kid's not having fun or they're not looking forward to jiu-jitsu, they're starting behind the 8 ball from the start. Hopefully those tips were helpful, and if you were thinking about getting your kid into training, this has made it a little bit easier. And if you already had your kid in training and maybe you were making some mistakes or you weren't doing some of these things, maybe this is a bit of an eye-opener for you, and you can start changing how you're approaching your child's training so that they can enjoy it and also become good self-defenders and defenders of others, and also be in good stead to push on and continue doing jiu-jitsu for the rest of their life. Thanks for listening, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that, you got something from it, and I can catch you on the next videos. Bye.